County Public Schools broadcast over MCAT. This is a live broadcast. My name is Bob McCain. I am the Director of Curriculum for Missoula County Public Schools. This afternoon, you are viewing a program that is designed to provide Missoula County Public Schools training in the use of the MALT, or Missoula Achievement Level tests. Conducting our training in this manner is a bit of an experiment. Our kindergarten through grade 8 teachers and administrators are viewing this presentation in their buildings where, following the broadcast, they will engage in exercises using Missoula Achievement Level test data. We welcome all viewers to this telecast. Non-Missoula County Public Schools viewers need to know that teachers watching this presentation have a packet of information which I will be referring to during the broadcast. Information in this packet will also be used for in-building exercises following the broadcast. Among staff engaged in this workshop are primary teachers and other specialists. At the request of those individuals who helped create this program, your teacher and administrator colleagues, we have asked you to attend. We believe that information about MALT is something that will help you, kindergarten, first, and second grade teachers, as you prepare students for the learning that lies ahead of them. It will provide those of you that are specialists with information which will help you use MALT in unique ways. It will help all of us as we use and explain MALT results to students, parents, the board, and our community. On Friday, I had the pleasure of watching a high school football game along with students, other parents, teachers, and community members. As the sun set, leaving behind the silhouette of our mountains, which we love so much, first in an orange and then in a purple sky, I couldn't help but reflect on the awesome responsibility and wonderful opportunity that we as educators have in helping to prepare Missoula's youth for their future. I know you, my colleagues, share these feelings. I know you share this sense of responsibility with me. This program was conceived and developed with the assistance of many people, at least 40 teachers, administrators, and other staff. It is one of many efforts designed to honor our obligation to our students, their families, and our community. We hope all viewers will find this presentation instructive and useful. It is a goal of Missoula County Public Schools to develop and administer a variety of assessment tools in all content areas and use that assessment to improve instruction. This is a board goal from the strategic plan. It has been a board goal for at least the past 2 years. Also found in the strategic plan are student expectation. And these student expectations are what our Missoula County Public School students are expected to do by the time they finish our program in grade 12. They are expected to read, write, compute, and communicate effectively, to know how to access, evaluate, and use information, to think creatively and critically, to solve problems cooperatively and individually, to use technology effectively, to recognize and develop their talents, to respect themselves and the rights and property of others, to appreciate world events, history, and cultural diversity, to appreciate and participate in the fine and performing arts, to understand and appreciate and practice a healthy lifestyle, to be committed to active citizenship and community service, to continue to learn, grow, and adapt to a rapidly changing job market and world. These are all in the district strategic plan. Please note that the very first one of these expectations is that students be able to read, write, compute, and communicate effectively. It comes before all others. MALT helps us to know how students are doing in these areas. MALT gives us valuable information about how to teach students in these areas. In Missoula County Public Schools, our purpose in assessment is to improve student learning. Focused on this purpose, quality assessment can contribute important information, insight, and dynamics to our quest for improved learning, instruction, management, and resource decisions. Objectives that are associated with this comprehensive assessment plan follow. Through appropriate assessment, we will be able to create instructional focus, monitor achievement of instructional goals, monitor student achievement growth across years, identify students with special needs, develop student skills for self-assessment, monitor student progress toward exit student expectations, those that I just mentioned, report to the students and their parents, report to the board and community. All of these goals are summarized in our assessment plan, which has three basic components: a state-required assessment component, a district-wide series of assessments, and some classroom assessment. Each component is extremely important. No one assessment is sufficient to provide all the necessary information we need to know what students are doing and what we need to be able to do to instruct them. Each assessment has specific strengths and weaknesses and uses. First, the state-required assessment. The state requires a standardized achievement test for all students in Montana in grades 4, 8, and 11. Missoula County Public Schools has adopted the Comprehensive Test of Basic Skills, CTBS, to honor this statewide requirement. There are other assessments, other standardized achievement assessments that are also acceptable for this. We have adopted Comprehensive Test of Basic Skills. The purpose of standardized tests is that it gives us a national comparison of students in broad curriculum areas of mathematics, reading, language usage, science, social studies, and study skills. The district-wide components that are in use and being developed are on this next slide. The ones that we are actually using at this point are in green. The ones that are being developed are in blue. Of course, there's a CTBS, which we've just mentioned. Then we have the ACT and the SAT, which are given to college-bound seniors. We have the 6-trait writing assessment, which is assessment that we use to determine how well we're doing in training our students to write. Then we have the Missoula Achievement Level tests. Those assessments that are in development are at the kindergarten through 2nd grade level, and most especially at that level, you primary teachers are fully cognizant of the fact that we're training as many people as we can in running records. We are also experimenting with portfolio assessment throughout the district, and we are moving toward eventually using wide-ranging performance assessment, though to do that in a formalized manner on a district-wide basis is still a bit in the future. Classroom assessments are perhaps the most valid portion of Missoula County Public Schools assessment plan. And teachers, you know that these assessments as well as I do, but it's important for me to share with you that I view them as extraordinarily important, and it's also important for our public to know that as well. And among these assessments are paper and pencil assessments that are both short answer and extended response, like essays and creative writing. Also, we have portfolio assessment. For example, we would have portfolio assessment in writing and art and a variety of other areas. Additionally, we have classroom assessments that are performance in nature. We have projects that could be in science, math, or in a variety of other places. We have speeches and recitals. There's a variety of presentations, all which fall under the general heading of performance assessment. We also have teacher observation, which is an extremely important tool. And lastly, students' self-evaluation is important as well. So where do the Missoula Achievement Level tests, MALT, fit into the assessment picture? First, it's an assessment of student growth in the basic skill areas of reading, language usage, and mathematics. It is a series of tests which systematically increase in difficulty from one level to another. Students test at a level which is appropriate to their current level of performance. MALT is administered to Missoula County Public School students in grades 3 through 8 in the fall and spring. The tests are curriculum referenced and calibrated. They're constructed by Missoula teachers using Northwest Evaluation Association computerized item banks. They're scored in Missoula for a short turnaround time. In the development of this presentation, we asked those individuals who helped us to summarize for us some of the questions that are being asked by teachers and other folks, parents included. And some of the questions that they came up with follow. What do the MALT percentile scores mean? How can you tell from the MALT data if a student is performing at grade level? How was it, MALT, constructed? Are we aligning curriculum and assessment by using MALT? Does it really relate to what I teach? How do the results relate to what I teach? What do the numbers mean? What do the numbers on the booklets mean? Will we be benchmarking MALT up through high school? Why do kids in the same class take different tests? Why do some kids go down in their MALT test scores? Aren't we tracking students when we use MALT? How does MALT relate to CTBS and other tests like the ACT and SAT? Why are we still using the CTBS test? How do we pass information from the MALT on to teachers in the next grade? Aren't we lowering our standards by giving students different tests? How much time is required for the kids at the top end to finish the test? By the end of this presentation, you, the Missoula County Public Schools staff, will have a better understanding of the whole MALT process. You will see that MALT relates directly to your curriculum. You will have a clearer understanding of what the results mean and how the test is structured. By the end of this presentation, you will use MALT results for a wider variety of purposes. You will understand your role in the administration of MALT and in using the results to help your students learn. For the remainder of the broadcast, there are several things that you'll be doing. The first is that we'll have a videotape from the Northwest Evaluation Association. That will last approximately 12 minutes. Then there'll be a continuation of this slide presentation. After that, the televised portion of this broadcast will end, and you will engage in an activity at your school that is designed to give you some practice in making decisions about the direction of student learning based on the MALT data. Also, you'll have an opportunity for you to ask additional questions that you may have, and we'll try to answer those questions as time allows us to do so in the future. The video that you're about to see was developed by the Northwest Evaluation Association, is presented with their permission. It provides a good overview of achievement level testing.
This classroom is full of frustrated kids. They may not look it, but they can't help but be frustrated. After all, many of them are working on test questions which are either too easy or too hard for them. These people are frustrated too, a bit more obviously than their students. They've just received their district's standardized test results. Those tests give a lot of information comparing students to each other, but none of the information is very specific about what students have learned relative to the district's own curriculum objectives. That's a depressing but fairly common situation throughout the country. Fortunately, I can show you a considerably brighter one. This group of teachers is looking at test results too. For these teachers and their district, assessment is making a difference in improving student performance. The results they received are useful for instructional planning. They're more accurate, and they show meaningful information about student growth. To top things off, they actually got their reports back in a timely manner. Their students are happier as well. They spent less time being tested, and the items they encountered were challenging without being frustrating. So what is it that makes testing better in the second school district? One simple change. The second district's comprehensive assessment plan includes the achievement level test system developed and distributed by the Northwest Evaluation Association. Hi, I'm Linda Bard. By spending the next few minutes watching this video, I can show you how this powerful assessment tool directly improves both the efficiency and usefulness of a district's assessment efforts. By using the level tests, districts can better gather the information they need to make informed decisions about learning, teaching, and program improvement.
20 years ago, the major purpose of assessment was for public accountability. And the system was typically a single publisher's norm reference test. The results we got from the tests often didn't tell us much about what students knew. Instead, we were interested in comparisons, how students compared and how districts compared. These days, we expect a lot more from assessment. Assessment techniques need to be tailored to the information needs that we've got. In addition, we're much more interested in knowing what kids have learned instead of making comparisons. And finally, we also want to know more about their achievement growth from year to year.
I'd like to use these test results in the classroom. If there was some way that I could use them to either guide instruction or monitor student progress, it would be really helpful. The students in my class are all over the map as far as achievement goes. Anytime the entire class takes the same standardized test, some of the students are lost, some aren't challenged at all. It'd be really nice to give each student a test that was at their level, one that challenged each of them, but wasn't too difficult.
Concerns like these are causing many districts across the country to adopt the achievement level test system from the Northwest Evaluation Association as their principal tool in a comprehensive assessment system. Developed by educators concerned with the shortcomings in conventional standardized tests, it is an excellent choice as the cornerstone of a quality assessment system.
The Northwest Evaluation Association was formed about 20 years ago by curriculum and assessment people in the area. We believe that by working cooperatively, we could improve the quality of assessment in each of our school districts. We were a little concerned about the kind of measures that were available. They weren't providing us the student data that we wanted. They weren't providing us the growth information that we thought we needed. We wanted to build measures that were aligned with our local programs and provide us good information to improve instruction within the classrooms. We developed the concept of achievement level test. It allowed us to develop tests that increased in difficulty from easy to difficult, which allowed us to hand each student a test that was appropriate to his or her functional achievement level. This allowed us to give individual teachers better data about the kids and about the group of kids that they worked with.
Districts that make the level tests an integral component of their assessment system have a way to determine if instructional programs are working effectively. Because of the way the tests are designed, achievement level tests can be used for a number of purposes, such as guiding instruction, monitoring student achievement growth over time, monitoring student progress toward district expectations, and identifying special needs students. Most standardized test forms are designed for students at a particular grade level. For that grade level, the test items are selected to do the best job possible of discriminating among those students. That's how they make the comparisons between students as precise as possible. Unfortunately, this means that on this kind of test, some students will be hopelessly lost, while others will find the test way too easy. As you can imagine, this causes students at both ends of the spectrum to be frustrated, and as a result, student test scores are less accurate.
In a classroom taking a conventional standardized test, they all take the same long test form. But in a class taking level tests, there are tests of varying difficulties given in the same classroom. And level tests are not timed, which gives the opportunity to be able to test students that have perhaps never been tested before, ESL students or special education students in a district.
In other words, students take the test form that's appropriate to their achievement level, which means shorter tests that students find less frustrating. At the same time, the information that comes from the shorter tests is actually more accurate. Here's how. Consider the following analogy. For purposes of illustration, let's say that measuring student height is analogous to measuring student achievement. Let these students represent short, average, and tall for their age. Now suppose we create a ruler which is just right for the average student, which is just how traditional norm reference test forms are targeted for a specific grade level. So far, so good. But what happens when we use our ruler on the below or above average height student? It simply isn't precise enough. We are out of the range where our ruler does its most effective measuring. The solution to the problem has two parts. First, we need a measuring device that is appropriate for each student. And second, we need a single common scale that tells us how tall the students are, regardless of which measuring device is used. Level tests meet those two needs. To begin with, a series of tests of increasing difficulty is created. Let's say this is the range of achievement we need to measure in a district. And here are bars that represent the coverage of the different level test forms. Now, instead of giving every student in a grade level the same test, students can be assigned the level test form that's going to provide the most efficient and accurate measurement for them. And since all the forms are scored against the same underlying achievement continuum, there's no difficulty in knowing where students stand relative to each other. Wondering how to decide which test form to give students? It's relatively easy. The first time students take the level test, They are given a 16-item pretest called a locator test. The results from the locator test tell the test administrator which level test to give to each student. From that point on, the NWEA scoring software determines which level test each student should take. If a student scores either too high or too low on the test, the score report tells the teacher to retest the student with a different, more appropriate test level. This retesting ensures teachers receive accurate test results for every student. All in all, while a conventional standardized test form could turn out to be a good choice for a particular student, there's always an NWEA level test form that will be an efficient, effective measurement instrument for each student. I mentioned the NWEA scoring software. Here's a little more information about that facet of the achievement level test system.
Well, our scoring software produces reports for parents, for teachers, for schools, and for districts. This enables a long-term history of student data to be kept and also provides a way for parents and teachers to keep track of student growth over a long period of time. We encourage larger districts that have adequate technical support to scan and score their own tests. In this way, they can obtain their results in a more timely manner, usually within just a week or two of their test administration.
One difference between an achievement level test and a typical standardized test is how the items got onto the test. Whereas commercial tests are designed and produced at the publisher's office, most districts build achievement level tests on site with an NWEA facilitator. During this process, teachers choose the actual items that will appear on the tests, so there's an excellent match between what teachers are teaching and what students are measured on. With help from the facilitators, teachers build their district's test working at computers, which contain the NWEA item banks for reading, math, language usage, and science. Each item is assigned to a topic area within the subject. The teachers choose a balance of items from each topic area that fits their own local and state curriculum guidelines. Any size district can develop level tests on site and choose items to address their district's particular measurement needs. But smaller districts often use a series of level tests designed by NWEA.
Our series of level tests were created by looking at the goal structures and the items that had been chosen the most often from districts where we had developed on site. And we started with those most chosen items and balanced out the tests to create level tests in math, reading, and language usage.
Another assessment tool is available for districts, the NWEA computerized adaptive tests. This system further customizes tests to individual students. Students sit at a computer terminal answering test questions. Based on how a student answers one question, either correctly or incorrectly, the computer decides which test question to show next to the student. Adaptive tests can be used for testing new students, for placing students in the appropriate course or instructional setting, and for monitoring any student to determine growth and achievement over time. The system allows teachers to give tests whenever they're needed. They give immediate feedback. And these computerized adaptive tests are very efficient. They decrease the amount of time a student spends in a testing situation and increase test security. It's an option any district might consider. We all know that sound assessment takes time, whether it's done by a single teacher in a classroom or across an entire state. But the true test of any assessment is whether the results are used by administrators, teachers, and parents to improve instruction and student learning. By focusing on the student, the achievement level test system has many advantages to help you reach this goal. With the achievement level test system, tests are better matched with the district's curriculum. Students take tests that are at their achievement levels. Schools can track student progress over time, and teachers receive more accurate, timely test results. Assessment should help us make a difference in improving student learning. With achievement level tests, we can. NWEA also
it takes a second to make the transition here. As you can see from the video, achievement level tests provide us with data that standardized achievement tests cannot. Students are tested at levels that are most appropriate for them. Test is curriculum referenced and calibrated. The test monitors student growth over time. Teachers and others may use the data to guide instruction, and the test still provides data about how students compare to each other. This next slide is a representation of the CBAM model, which was developed by researchers at the University of Texas to describe the level of use of any new innovation. As you can see, there are 7 levels that they indicate, and we're missing the one that would be number 2, which would be initial use. That you just might make a note there. If you turn to the first handout in your packet, you will see a better description of each of these levels. So please take out the first handout in your packet. As you look through these levels, ask yourself the following question. Where are you as an individual with the MALT innovation? Where are we as a district? What level are we on? Are we at the non-use stage? Are we at the orientation stage? Initial use? Mechanical use? Routine? Refinement? And so on? Teachers that helped develop this video that were asked that question suggested that we were somewhere between orientation, initial use, and on a few cases, mechanical use. The point of the CBAM model is as follows. All innovations go through these steps. No innovation of any magnitude is easily adopted and institutionalized. Wherever we are with respect to this innovation, wherever you are personally, the purpose of this video and the exercise, or this presentation and the exercise that follows, is to move us further down the list so that we can become more masterful in our use of the MALT tests. How widespread is achievement level testing? If you would look at your second handout, you will see a list of all the districts in the United States that are currently using achievement level tests. There are over 100 agencies nationwide that are using these tests. That represents 200,000 students who are involved in taking achievement level tests. This is a significant number. Please take out your third handout, and the third handout is the Missoula Achievement Level Testing Teacher's Guide to the MALT. And this is a very useful handout, and we ask that you keep this and refer to it. We'll be going through this a little bit here in the next few minutes, but this is something that you can use whenever you have questions about the MALT. Presently, you have a yellow copy. We would ask that you'd throw that away. That's now out of date. The first half of the Teacher's Guide to the MALT is an overview of MALT and talks about what it is and what it does. The second half deals directly with reading and interpreting the data. Again, please file this copy in a location where you can refer to it on a regular basis. Please turn to page 4 in your Teacher's Guide to the MALT. Now you can read this page at your leisure and discover the information that's there. I'm just going to highlight a couple of points that are worthy of note here. The first is that the concept of achievement level testing was developed by the Northwest Evaluation Association based on the work of Danish mathematician George Roche. MALT was developed, the specific MALT tests, our test, was developed with Missoula County Public Schools with the assistance of NWEA. Scores on the MALT are reported in the form of scores on a RIT scale, which I'll be describing in more detail in a few more minutes. Also on page 4, there's a comment that there is one scale for each subject, one RIT scale for each subject, one for reading, one for mathematics, and one for language arts. Each scale includes benchmark RIT numbers for performance expected at a particular grade level. And again, I'll be going through this in more detail in a few minutes. Please turn to page 5 in your Teacher's Guide to the MALT. On page 5, you will see the purposes of the MALT listed. And they include monitoring student achievement growth over time of individuals, groups, and by the whole district, screening for special needs students, special education kids, Title I kids, gifted and talented students. It can be used for program evaluation. How good is our math program? How well are we teaching it at this point? It can be used to monitor student progress towards school or district standards or expectations. Again, it can be used to communicate to parents, the board, and the general community. It can be used to validate teachers' judgments and to validate other assessment techniques. Please turn to page 6 of your teacher's guide to the MALT. Page 6 gives the steps or lists the many steps that were involved in actually designing the MALT assessment. And you can see there that there are quite a few. And I'm not going to go through them individually. The important point here is that the process was a very rigorous one. It was performed by teachers, and it was done using the MCPS curriculum and under the supervision of the Northwest Evaluation Assessment professionals. MALT test items are drawn from extensive computerized banks of questions. Each test item is assigned a degree of difficulty using Roche units. Test items have been extensively tested for reliability and validity. The next several pages gives the Missoula County Public Schools goals in the areas of reading, language usage, and mathematics. And while we've just listed the goal areas on the upcoming slides, you can see that they've been fairly thoroughly defined in this document. This is sort of the short form of our curriculum, and it's from these goals and these definitions that all the questions on the MALT are selected. With respect to the reading goals, they are word meaning, literal comprehension, interpretive comprehension, and critical analysis. The language usage goals are composing, writing process, composition structure, basic grammar usage, and conventions. The mathematics goals assessed are problem solving and reasoning, number theory and relationships, computation, statistics, probability and graphing, algebra readiness and algebra, and geometry and measurement. Some final thoughts with regard to the development of the MALT. Specific test items are chosen by local teachers to match local curriculum goals that you've just seen. This increases the usefulness of this test in the results for planning classroom instruction. Again, questions are selected from thousands of questions written by trained teacher teams to cover a wide range of goals. These questions are in the test banks that are brought to us from Northwest Evaluation Association. These questions were field tested with tens of thousands of students to identify and eliminate items not of the highest quality and fairness. Please turn to page 10 of your teacher's guide to the MALT. Now, there's a lot of information on the next several pages about the achievement level concept. I'm just going to highlight a little of that information, and again, I would ask you to read this more thoroughly on your own. The achievement level concept is based on the RIT score. RIT scores range from 150 to 250 for reading and language usage, from 150 to 260 for mathematics, and up to 270 for algebra and geometry. The achievement level concept is based on the statistically sound item response theory, where each item is assigned a degree of difficulty. Items are drawn again from computerized banks of questions which have been tested for validity, reliability, and difficulty. Each MALT test is focused at a specific range. All test levels in a given subject are built to the same basic blueprint, which allows for precise calibration of items in the bank. This permits us to have parallel forms of the entire series. Thereby, we have a fall and a spring series, which are at the same degree of difficulty. And for the next slide, I'm going to use the overhead. I haven't yet developed quite the technical expertise to put these kinds of slides into the video program that you're seeing. So if you bear with me, I'm going to move over to the overhead. And I'll try not to break my cord on the way. This overhead gives quite a variety of information about the RIT scale and the various tests. These ranges represent each test that's in the series. The scale along the left-hand side is the RIT scale. And it's important to note that there's no difference between the RIT scale and any other equal interval scale. For example, like a ruler, that's an equal interval scale that measures length. A thermometer is an equal interval scale that measures temperature. The RIT scale is an equal interval scale that measures student growth in specific academic areas. The concept is a very simple concept. It's no different than a ruler. It's measuring something different. One very important distinction about these tests is that they overlap. And if you'll notice, students could literally get the same score on a test using 3 different tests. And this graphic doesn't show it as well as some. But the point is that students taking 3 different levels could all score 180. The one taking the test at the very far left would be right at the top of that range. The one taking the test in the middle would be about where we would like them to be, which is in the middle of the range, with about half of the questions easy for that student and half very difficult. The student that would be taking the third one would be taking a test that would be fairly easy for him or her. Please turn to page 12 of your teacher's guide to the MALT. Now again, there's lots of information on here, and I'm just going to highlight a few thoughts. Assigning a degree of difficulty rating to each test item makes it possible to calculate RIT scores, which relate the student's scores directly to the curriculum in a subject. RIT scores are superior to percentiles or grade level equivalent scores because they are tied directly to the curriculum rather than being based on the performance groups. Since the test information is anchored in the curriculum, it is possible to track student process accurately from year to year. It is also possible to change the tests to keep pace with the curriculum as it changes. The next several pages of your teacher's guide to the MALT describe how the results, the various reports that you receive, can be used and analyzed in a variety of ways. These reports should be used at the classroom level for instructional planning, information to students, and reports to parents. At the school level, they should be used for school-wide goal setting. For example, if students in a particular school are having trouble with word meaning, there is a specific strand of the reading that would indicate that, and that might be a goal for that entire school for the upcoming year or several months to work with all the students on their vocabulary. At the district level, the analysis could revolve around the quality of the curriculum. Is the curriculum right for teaching students about reading? Is it the best curriculum? How well are students as a whole growing in the area of reading? What in-service needs might we have based on this test? Do we need to provide more running record training? Do we need to provide more training in areas like literacy learning? Finally, it gives us some idea of our curriculum materials needs. Are our materials sufficient to do what we need them to do? These are the various ways that MALT analysis can take place. The analysis of RIT scores basically revolve around several different reports. There's the class reports that you'll get both in the fall and in the spring. There's also the 3-point class report, which shows students' growth over time, over 3 testing periods. Then there's parent reports, which record individual students' progress. One of those reports is sent home to parents, and the other is filed in the student's permanent file. And then there's other longitudinal reports that reflect individual student growth over time. All reports are in your packet. You will have the opportunity to analyze these reports during the next portion of this workshop. The class report is the most basic report for teachers to use in the analysis of student and class performance. You will work with the class report in an activity after this portion of the presentation. Results of fall testing should be used for instructional planning. Results of spring testing should be used as an assessment of growth during the year. Now let's return to those questions that people are asking about the MALT and see if we've answered some. The first question is, what do the MALT percentile scores mean? The MALT percentile scores compare the performance of the individual students to the scores of all students at the same grade level in the nation who have taken achievement level tests. How can you tell from the MALT data if a student is performing at grade level? RIT scores may be used to make that determination. This graphic here basically came from page 17. And teachers, you can look at page 17, which provides a great deal of information about where students are grade level-wise given their RIT scores. What this tells you is that a student in third grade, if they are on grade level in September, they should be scoring 192 on the RIT scale. If they are performing above grade level, their scores would be above 192. If they are below grade level, they would be below 192. In May, their growth should be 6.9 RIT scale points. And the student that's performing right at grade level would score 198.9. And you can see the rest of the information for yourself there. Please note that on page 17 again of your MALT guide, Teacher's Guide to the MALT, gives month-by-month RIT scores for grade level performances. So you're literally able to determine at what level a student who is on grade level should perform for each month of the calendar year by grade level. Now back to the questions. How was it, MALT, constructed? Well, it was constructed by teachers from extensive NWEA test item banks, and those banks are computerized, using district curriculum goals with the professional assistance of NWEA. Are we aligning curriculum and assessment by using MALT? Yes. What do the numbers mean? RIT scores are in ROS units. It's the same concept as units on a ruler or a thermometer. ROS units measure student growth on basic skills, while a ruler measures distance and length, height, or a thermometer measures temperature. It's the same concept. Equal interval scale. More MALT questions being asked. What do the numbers on the booklet mean? Numbers on the booklet indicate degree of difficulty of individual tests along the RIT scale. Will we be using MALT up through high school? Not at this time, but we may be soon doing so. As we speak, we're finishing up the math curriculum, and the high school math teachers have talked about tapping into the NWEA item bank for high school mathematics in the areas of Algebra 1, Algebra 2, and geometry. I've been informed by the NWEA that by the end of this school year, they will be prepared with sufficient numbers of items in their bank so that we can create that test. Why do kids in the same class take different tests? The test a student takes is based upon his or her estimated level of achievement. A student's estimated level of achievement is based on the locator test, a previous test, or your judgment, teachers, as to where that child belongs. How much time is required for the kids at the top end to finish? There's no strict time limit on the MALT as there is on CTBS. However, 45 minutes to an hour should be the rule of thumb for most. After this amount of time, if a student is not showing progress, you as the teacher should exercise a professional judgment to have them stop. If they are making progress, then you can have them continue on. Among the questions asked by the third grade teachers is not an hour too long for my students to sit and take the test? Because the nature of the MALT test, you can actually have the students take a break in the middle of the test. And so that's something that third grade teachers might consider doing. Another MALT question that's being asked is, why do some students go down in their MALT test scores? Well, this is a rarity. Could happen over the summer, for example, because a student may have lost a little bit of skills through lack of practice. Or it could occur for some other reasons, such as student fatigue during testing, measurement error. Those kinds of things are possible. I would like you to remember that MALT, like many assessments, is only a snapshot of what a student can do. Aren't we tracking students when we use MALT? No. The primary purpose of MALT is to find ways to help students learn. By identifying areas of students' strengths and weaknesses, we may alter instruction to meet specific needs of individuals, groups, classes, and schools. How does MALT relate to CTBS and other standardized achievement tests like the ACT and the SAT? And I apologize for this next slide. I know it's going to be difficult to read. but we did the best we could under the circumstances. And the point here is this, that achievement level tests are aligned to the curriculum. Standardized tests are not. Achievement level test matches the difficulty of the test to the student's level of academic development. A standardized achievement test doesn't do that. It's just the same test regardless of where a student is academically. An achievement level test can be used for instructional decisions at individual, classroom, school, and the district level. The standardized achievement test is not accurate enough for classroom use, and teachers, we all know that that is a fact. The achievement level test can be modified at regular intervals to reflect correct curricular and instructional change. We can do it here locally with the assistance of NWEA professionals. The standardized test cannot be modified. What you see is what you get. You just get whatever the company gives you. Achievement level tests provide a continuous growth measure of basic skills based on district objectives. A standardized achievement test cannot provide continuous growth measures. Achievement level tests can be used for documenting progress toward standards and grade level benchmarks established by the district. A standardized test is not designed for documenting progress toward standards and grade level benchmarks. Another MALT question being asked is, how do we pass information on to the teachers in the next grade? Well, of course, there's the reports. We have the MALT parent reports, class reports, 3-point class reports, and longitudinal reports. Another question being asked is, aren't we lowering our standards by giving students different tests? No. Students will take achievement level tests at their own level. Students who have greater skills and students who are developing those same skills will be appropriately challenged. The purpose of assessment in MCPS is to improve student learning. MALT is a powerful tool to help us do just that. However, teacher judgment and a variety of assessments are necessary to get a complete picture of student achievement. No one assessment is the perfect thing for all kids across time. Assessment is a complex thing. I have one other slide that I would like to show you folks, and it'll take me a moment to move over to that slide. This is an historical report of achievement level testing in Portland Public Schools. And this testing started in 1982 and is up through 1993. And if you look closely, you can see that these are the 4th grade results. And if you'll notice, the 4th graders improved each year that they took the achievement level tests. The same with the 5th, 6th, and so on. It is our hope that through accurate assessment, we can measure student growth in our district as well as the Portland Public Schools have done. This concludes our televised presentation. Facilitators will work with you at your building site to do the various activities. We appreciate your attendance and look forward to other questions you may have about MALT. Thank you very much for your attention.